to exclude you from discussion.
I will not allow that.
Okay, excellent. So, the title of discussion, you probably all know it. I'll just check what's the official version of it, just to be sure, you know. Nordic Leadership, how to work with Vikings. On the way here, since because of high traffic in Vilnius, I was thinking what kind of leadership style should I apply? Because there was not enough time to get here, you know, in a normal way. So I actually was keeping to my roots. So I applied Lithuanian leadership style in driving. And I was thinking, what would a Swedish or Norwegian or Danish or Icelandic or Finnish person do? Maybe we will find out along the way as we discuss. I mean, in the situation when you are out of time, not enough time to get somewhere to a very important conversation or meeting. But obviously in Lithuania and probably in Baltic states, we have a lot of discussions about the Scandinavian leadership style. In my experience, managing companies, discussing with colleagues, usually I would say we are discussing about three leadership styles that we kind of compare ourselves to, or we measure ourselves against. So probably first one is, it's not in any priority order, but one of them is American management or leadership style. Another is Russian management or leadership style. And the third one is Scandinavian management or leadership style. And actually this is quite specific to the Baltics, because we are, if you would go to Poland or to a bit even more, if you go a bit further to the south, you would not be able to discuss too much about Scandinavian leadership style. And this is mainly because of the capital or direct foreign investment structure into the Baltics, where Scandinavian ownership is a very well-known thing, and quite often you have Scandinavian investors, which means we have Scandinavian managers or leaders. And this is what we're going to discuss today. So, just to introduce my colleagues here in this discussion, I will start with Lina. Lina, maybe you can introduce yourself actually, because that's the best way to. Your background, I understand you're working for a Norwegian company, so please, a couple of words.
My name is Lina Marashikina. I'm the manager for Norwegian Accounting. It's a Norwegian-owned company, accounting company. We're a big center of over 200 people doing accounting services for Norway and Sweden. You see, most of our employees are speaking either Norwegian or Swedish, and we are actually dealing with the tax authorities in those countries. Therefore, we speak both those languages. We have to go into those cultures to get to know those cultures. So I have been in the company almost since the beginning. It's almost 13 years now. It has been a really good journey. We had a Norwegian manager in the beginning. So we have been working closely together several years. And since 2013, I have taken over as the manager for the company. So actually, we're really Scandinavian style company, and we have close cooperation to Norway, and Nordic Leadership is our everyday.
Okay, so very good. We will find out what it is exactly a bit later in the discussion. I would like to introduce Don. He's a legend in Lithuania, I guess also in other Baltic states. So please, Don, give us a bit of your background, so just to get a better picture.
My background is actually that from the telco industry a long time, but living abroad for 10 years actually now. First in Denmark, trying to find out the difference between the Danish leadership and the Swedish leadership. I'll come back to that a little bit later on. Then moving to Lithuania, head of Omnitel at that time, and then to Estonia, and then I went back to Lithuania last year. I'm also the member of the board of La Telecom in Latvia, so I think I have a quite broad experience from these regions. I stated when I moved back that I would never ever live in Lithuania again, in the Republic of Lithuania. And I actually have kept that promise. I don't live in the Republic of Lithuania. I live in the Republic of Ushupis.
Very good. So you are quite well acquainted with Lithuanian background, Danish, Swedish, and Estonian.
And Estonian. And Latvian.
Okay. But Latvia we can always discuss in a more free way here.
That's good.
All right, and we have Andrus. Andrus has been working with Finnish, at least for the last decade or more. So can you give us a bit of your background?
Yes, so I'm not a manager, I'm a communication specialist and working for a Finnish company, Fortum. It is an energy company. And last 8-9 years I was very much dealing with one of the main investments what Fortum has here. It is a waste-to-energy plant and a very, very interesting project, and we are dealing a lot with communities here, and I think I have a lot of knowledge about how to combine Finnish and Lithuanian mentality. So this is sometimes really, really funny. Sometimes it is serious, but it is different, definitely.
Okay, so Finnish, Danish, Swedish, Norwegian. What do we miss? Iceland, probably not so much experience, but we love Iceland because of the obvious fact that happened when we gained our independence, so we're not going to talk too much about that, and I guess we have covered more or less. Danish, okay. So, to begin with, and actually those of you who are interested in understanding better, even better than we will discuss during this hour, there is a report on the Nordic leadership that was made by the Nordic Council of Ministers and released last year. It's a free report, you can find it online, and it gives a couple of very interesting facts. One is that the style is different between the Scandinavian countries. Two, and that's the biggest intrigue, at least for me, is that if you compare and measure the compatibility of a Nordic style with other regions around the world, and they took 12 clusters of countries, the closest is Anglo-Saxon approach and a South American approach to leadership, and the most different one is Eastern European. So that's an interesting fact. Don, maybe we should start from you. So how do you describe Nordic leadership, and is it really that different from what you see here? Because we are part of Eastern Europe.
I don't see that. First of all, I think that a good manager is a good manager, no matter if it works in US or whatever. That is my starting point. I also think my experience shows me that you should never compare. I mean, I need to put Lithuania in the Lithuanian context, Denmark in the Danish context. If I start to compare the countries with Sweden, then I get totally lost. So this culture experience, that is actually what is triggering me. I think there are some things that are typical from the Scandinavian point of view. I mean, this with inclusion, diversity, fair treatment, also a quite long tradition how to deal with things, everything from unions to whatever. Then I must say that it's a quite big difference between the Nordic countries. If I start there, I mean, Swedes, we are raised up with big companies, H&M, Ericsson, Volvo, whatever. When I was based in Denmark, it's more traders would say. I did all the mistake a manager can do when I moved to Denmark, because I felt that I will understand everything because I understand the language. But Danish are much more traders, like Dutch people. So I was totally lost, and they are much more into the things, how to deal with the small companies. Just to give you one example, when we in Swedes were considered as consensus driven.
That's actually one of the 6 main characteristics in the report.
That was one of the reasons when I started in Denmark, people were a new management team. I had a problem to get new manager because the first question they asked me, are you a Swedish manager? And I would say, yes. And then I realized that they would like to avoid the situation to have a manager who is consensus driven. So I need to change that and say much more that I'm an international leadership style. And I also think
which means highly adaptive, yeah?
Yeah, highly adaptive. But I think just to give you one example from the real life, when we decided to build the bridge between Copenhagen and Malmö, Öresundsbron, perhaps some of you have seen that. After many years it was decided, and then the day after we started, and then the Danish started, but they start digging, and on the Swedish side nothing happens. And they continue to dig, and after a while they were super nervous, and this is a true story, so they actually called, have a crisis meeting, we have an agreement that we should build a bridge. You should do your part, and we should do our part. And but we were planning, and that is the way we're doing things in Sweden. So the end result was actually that we were at the same time both Denmark and Sweden, but we did it in a different way. Right. So I think this planning is a little bit also the difference that I can see that, let's say, don't just rush. Plan things and then move on, which can be a little bit annoying. And I must say, with my experience from Lithuania, if I moved there, I think it's a huge change in the leadership style when I started there 2013 in Omnitel, and now with Telia 6 years later. Because of course we also attract international people, and Vilnius is an international town now with all the shared service centers.
Yeah, actually you mentioned Öresundsbron. First time I started my studies in Sweden in Lund, which was just close to that bridge. I still had to take a ferry to Copenhagen, so this was a big advantage to the region, and I agree completely, because Swedish people were explaining to me, Danish people first act then think. We first think then act. So this is exactly true. Linda, maybe we can follow on to Norwegians. What about Norwegians? I read in the report what they say about Norwegians, but maybe you can give us a direct, real-life experience.
Norwegians, I think they are even more than Swedish. They have a very flat hierarchy. There is no actually distance between managers and employees, and sometimes it's even a little bit embarrassing that you are going around and actually you meet and talk to the people, and you just find out that he is like a CEO of a big company or a shareholder or so on. So this is actually one of the most amazing things that we meet in the Norwegian. What else? Actually, as it's written in the report, it's really true in the reality that trust, that's including in all the employees. Consensus is also a little bit Norwegian style. I think Norwegians have even less structure and procedures than Swedes. So actually, it's up to you to find out how you act. And unless you, as long as you act in the favor of the company, and you can argument that you have done things in favor of the company, so you will get all the way forward. So all the approval.
Have you been in a situation where you would do something and then your managers or colleagues from Oslo or Norway would say, this is not the way we do it here?
Actually,
this kind of unwritten rules, I think this is one of the characteristics of that there's nothing written really, but there is a cultural sort of feeling that this is how we do things. Have you experienced that?
Actually, never.
But I think you have a point. I have appointed people from US-based companies like IBM, Cisco, and they're so used to this is what you should do, and here it is. Within Telia, we don't have that. Here you need to find out a little bit more, as you said. This is the way you should.
Social rules.
Social rules, and it's a little bit that can create some type of frustration.
Okay, Andrew. In the report, it says about Finnish that they are the most competitive out of all the Scandinavia. Would you agree?
be.
Or maybe just in general, what is your experience with Finnish people?
My experience is very good, but I would like to start a little bit from earlier times. And I remember very well my childhood. It was 30 years ago. And it was a tradition in my family, I was a child, to go to the seashore and lie on the beach during vacation time. And as a child, many childs, I was always asking, because it is sand and the sea, and you were always asking what is on the other side of the sea. And the answer was always like Sweden. But the answer was said in such a tone that it is on the moon. You will never reach it. Maybe someday. So in 1999, actually I started as a company in 1997, PR consultancy. And in 1999 I was working with Tele2, the third operator. And I flew with journalists from Lithuania, the group of journalists to Stockholm, and I was standing on the other side of the sea. And that was a feeling like I'm on the moon, because actually it was such a feeling from the childhood. So the difference we had was like Earth and Moon. And the situation what we are having now, we are becoming closer and closer to that mentality, because I have a lot of clients from different countries. You mentioned Russia, Poland, Scandinavian countries.
Well, are we more similar to Scandinavians than to Polish?
Absolutely,
You think
absolutely,
so?
because we were discussing near the lunch table that you never feel stress, never. You can feel stress in a stressful situation because of the situation, because of something is pushing you, but you will never feel stress from your colleagues, and this is really, really relaxing experience, because you can just work, concentrate on your tasks, and this is what I feel always, not comparing Swedes, Finns, Danes and Norwegians. Of course, when I work now inside Fortum, you can feel the differences. But from Lithuanian point of view, I see the Nordic target where we need to go.
Still, a very positive description, but what is the biggest challenge for you working with Finnish people and with Scandinavians?
I don't see challenges with working with Finnish people. I see challenges with working with Lithuanian society and having a Finnish company in my background. And I can give you an example. Before we started to build the Kaunas project, waste to energy project, we took 10 people from Kaunas municipality, from community, to Stockholm. And we have visited Stockholm municipality, and they were explaining how Swedish people see waste to energy plant from their perspective. And there was a long discussion, and suddenly one person from our group asked, why have you chosen to start from Klaipėda in Lithuania? Why have you built the first plant in Klaipėda? And the answer was so natural, but the understanding of the answer was absolutely different. The person from Fortum said that because it was the easiest way to agree on the conditions. So how the community from Lithuania understood that, to agree about something in a very easy way means not very transparent thing.
Does it mean that the Finnish are more open?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lena, if you would have to describe the Norwegian leadership in 2 words, what would it be?
Trust and responsibility delegation.
Okay. Okay. Don?
I think it goes the same way, and also the thing that, I mean, Telia Lithuania, we need to have the best people on board if we should be able to make Lithuania to an even better place to live and work in. And by adopting a little bit the Scandinavian leadership style, I have seen that we are able to attract good people who would like to grow, who would like to be in an environment with diversity. I mean, not just gender, it's also about age, background, culture, whatever. So all of those things is actually, especially a little bit the younger generation. And then talking about sustainability, for example, which has a team around there, we see more and more interest in sustainability. And in Sweden and in Nordic countries, that is a huge thing. It's still not a huge thing here. But we believe by talking about that, we will be able to attract. So we're going more and more closer, so to say, to each other.
Okay. If you think about people you have hired here or in Estonia, and I will have a question about differences between Lithuania and Estonia later, which is very important for the audience, I believe. Still, if you would have to describe managers that you hire here locally, with a few words, what would they be?
I think that they are well educated, good in languages. I'm astonished about the good education level in general in Lithuania, and that is something that you should brag about a little bit. Good in mathematics. Also, many of them have, let's say, experience from other countries, and by that an international background. We have, especially, we have a lot of good females in our management team that are really pushing, so to say, because today was a good day, but tomorrow will be even better. So I also see a little bit risk exposure, but let me come back to that. But in general, I think it's, if I compare my team here, and that goes for my Estonian team as well, with my Swedish colleagues, it's a good, not a good, it's a very good standard, I would say. Super professional.
Okay. And if you would have to compare a Lithuanian team with the Estonian team?
I think it's a good question because I was not really aware about the big difference between Lithuania and Estonia, and I will not say which one I prefer because I like Estonia a lot. But I mean, the difference is actually bigger between Lithuania and Estonia than between Estonia and Sweden in terms of leadership, in terms of whatever. What I can a little bit emphasize without annoying anyone, I think Estonians is much more better to sell themselves. They have much better self-confidence. I mean, e-Estonia, e-society, and they can brag a little bit. And I think this self-confidence I'm missing in this country. How do we promote Lithuania abroad? We don't do that in a very professional way.
Lena, if I would ask you, so does working with Scandinavians, with Nordic leaders, with Norwegians, does it help you and your team to increase self-confidence?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, it is not so easy from the first day because our people are a little bit suspicious. You see, when you get so much praise for everything you do, and
something must be wrong.
Yes, something must be wrong. They are hiding some things. But after a while, you get much more motivated. You are much more encouraged, and people come with ideas that can change actually the world. So it's really good to see how Lithuanians are catching that style. And as you have said, the Nordic leadership style is really attractive for our, especially the younger generations. So the Nordic employers are really attractive, and I think that's then they get more power, more responsibilities, and they go up.
Another aspect which is interesting is, I mean, Don was already saying something about it in the beginning, that you did the international leadership style rather than Swedish or whichever is your native. Probably Swedish is a native.
Swedish, yeah.
The question is whether the style, and probably to you, Lena, and maybe Andrews can add also, is this different how the leaders interact in Sweden if they are in Oslo office or in Stockholm office between themselves, and how they act with people in Baltic countries, let's say here in these offices that are in Vilnius or in Tallinn?
My experience is yes. I think we have a little bit of tendency in Sweden in general to we are a little bit afraid of conflicts, so to say.
A little bit?
A little bit. So we don't take the fights in the conference room, so to say. It's better we are polite, we could all agree, and then we can take the fight on. Here it's a little bit more, let's
do it now.
Let's do it now. Let's do it now, and I really appreciate that actually. So for my style, and I actually now, when I am in Stockholm sometimes, people are, have you been through Lithuania? Because you are so pushy. You are really
aggressive, yeah?
Yeah, aggressive. Well, what has happened with you? So I think that is, for me, I mean, with international, I think it's more those core values that is so at least so important for me: fair values, fair treatment, and stuff like that. But I see a tendency also, and I also see that some of my colleagues in Sweden sometimes have difficulty to understand that hidden agenda a little bit, how to interact and what should we do, and they're saying yes, but in reality nothing happens, and how should I guide in this? So it's a both way actually.
Okay, and what is your experience?
Actually, I think that it's good also that we have that different style. You see that we have good things that is more structure and a little bit more push, that we need to get things done. Norwegians also are planning a little bit more, discussing and seeking consensus. So when we act together and we get consensus together, so then it's the best result.
But did you notice them, your colleagues, acting a bit differently because of your influence?
We haven't noticed that. Maybe we are a little bit not so large corporation as Telia, but we haven't noticed that they will act.
Andrew, over the years, did you notice that changes in the behavior of your partners or clients?
I mean,
how they exercise their leadership style here. I mean, you've been working with them for 10, 15 years probably, so
yeah.
Did they change over the time because of their experience here?
Of course.
How did they change?
I think the development is the same direction. So trust is growing, and this is the main topic because I see. Because we are going really from this autocratic style, and now we are going to this trust style, and this trust style is absolutely growing here, and I think that we are going to the Nordic direction definitely, because I don't see these things in other countries. For example. In Poland, in Ukraine, I have quite a lot of contacts there. So
they are more autocratic.
Absolutely. So our development, if you compare Lithuania with Nordics, there is a long way to go. But if you compare Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia to our ex-neighbors, so it is already a long way to.
I think one of the biggest difference that I have realized is that the number of foreigners in the office here compared to Sweden, for example, is quite limited. I mean, I'm the only Swede in here, and more or less we are more Lithuanian, and that was the same in Estonia. When I started in Estonia, we were roughly 2,000 people there, and we were two foreigners, so to say. It was me and then one student, Erasmus student, so we were from Colombia, so that was the only thing. So I think that is the biggest difference also, to see that if you compare with Sweden and also with Denmark, for example.
Okay, I guess what I would really like to have in this discussion, unfortunately we don't have anyone who is managing, being Lithuanian or being Baltic, managing Scandinavians. I know some companies have invested in Scandinavia. I spoke to managers and owners of these companies. They see the situation fairly challenging, and one of the things that they have said, which for them is a challenge, is that it doesn't work this way, that I told what to do and they go and do it. So this is the impression from Lithuanians trying to do business and manage people in Scandinavia. We can have some questions from the audience if there are any. We have been discussing here, so please join us.
Thank you. So I do have questions. It was a very interesting discussion. So we talked a lot why the Nordic leadership style is good, why it's superior, maybe why it should be a target. But where it doesn't work, where it's less effective than maybe other leadership styles like maybe American, Eastern European or Japanese, what things actually would change or actually are picking up from most different leadership styles?
I think it's a super good question, and I would like to twist it a little bit, because we see that if I look at I think it's a little bit a question about generations. You can't really have the same leadership style for, middle-aged people or whatever, and then you have young people that is coming in that is more into the startup community, startup things, and I think that is more that type of leadership style. Then I think we, no matter if we are from Sweden or Denmark or Lithuania, so I see that is the problem, how to attract young people who would really like to work in those in those small companies, let's say, startup things. And that is also, and I think there are perhaps more similarities among young people in cities than real people in Sweden, in Stockholm, and in the, let's say, outside Stockholm. So that is where I think we need to think about what type of leadership is necessary for the new generation. How can we attract those people? How can we secure that they stay? Because we have been used that people are joining and they stay for quite a long time. Those are not the rules anymore. So building a pipeline of talent people, secure that they stay, secure that they can grow. That is where I see the challenge both for Telia and for other companies.
I guess just to add to the answer, we should ask Lina, what do people joke about Norwegians in your office? This is their weak points. What is the most frequent joke about colleagues in Norway?
Actually, we say that don't joke with Vikings.
Okay. At least I give it a shot.
I think if I can answer that, I can see that the Swedish way of having 5 weeks vacation in a row during the summer is perhaps, I have seen some, and also the tendency of that everybody should have their red cottage.
Okay. But I think the long holiday from midsummer to mid-August, it's being adopted fairly quickly here. So
Yeah, I see that as well.
We take the best thing fast.
so the best things come really quickly into life. Any more questions from the audience before we move on to other things? Yeah? No, not at the moment. If we would have to give an advice to someone who wants to be successful in one team with Scandinavians, and this is going to be the same question about Lithuanians, what would be this advice? What to be aware of, what to focus on, what to remember, not to make a mistake, and to create a nice relationship, good relationship?
Should I start? If you should be able to work in a Swedish environment, then be a little bit aware about the culture difference, because they are there. you need to pay a little bit more attention to what is going on in your family. I mean, a good advice is always to ask, what are you going to plan for the weekend? Because we need to plan, and we plan for the weekend ahead. And then on Monday morning, you always ask, what did you do during the weekend? That is quite, you can laugh at it, but it is a good way to get interaction with people and let's say, acquainted with them. I also try to understand the hidden agenda, what is going on. I mean, that is the same with not just Telia, with every company. What is the hidden agenda? What is the culture code in this company? As I said earlier, it's not so easy always to fit into this. So, but more about family, more about interaction, and also pay equal interest no matter gender.
Okay. I guess those who need the advice just took a note. So on Friday, ask what they're going to do. On Monday, ask did they do what they planned.
You need to ask on Wednesday already.
Okay, on Wednesday, that's right, because you plan ahead. Excellent. Lena, maybe let's change the direction. So, having a lot of experience, I mean, and you as well, what would you wish for your Scandinavian colleagues that they would know in advance and that they would really pay attention to, and you think this would make your relationship better?
I think that yes, that culture knowledge and a little bit of history knowledge I think it's really important to come here. That the person should not come with the attitude that I will come and change everything here to the best. Actually, we have our own history, and you see, we look quite shy and maybe reserved to the Norwegians, maybe not so proactive from the first point of view. But actually, we have lots of smart people who are not so brave to say away, to say out, to raise those ideas and so on. And if the person has the respect and knowledge why we are so, because we had 50 years of Soviet history, and actually we are the first generation that is going out from it, and we are learning a lot. We're really enthusiastic about learning especially about Nordics. So if the person is coming with that knowledge, so the manager can get lots of good things, the best things out of the people, and then the people raise.
Did I hear right that this is about having respect to the background, to the history?
Yes, and knowledge as well.
And I couldn't agree more. I think that is super important to put Lithuania in this context, so to say. That goes for all the Baltic countries. Because coming here with some type of recipe, we have never been through this. So and I think that also creates a huge respect if you acknowledge it.
And of course, vice versa, it's the same advice for our people as well. That before you go to those countries, to any countries, before you start working with the other cultures, you need actually to learn why they are like this, and then you get much more understanding and much more cooperation.
I know that some American corporations, before they go into the new market, they have a big research and consultants preparing them, explaining the history, and when they come, they also bring consultants in and say, now these guys are going to explain what we are like. Do Scandinavians need to do that?
I did it, no, but I did it a little bit myself. But I think coming back to, we are doing so much good things in Lithuania. I mean, if you look at the shared service center, so to say, if you look at the number of talented people, we as a company, we have decided, Telia company, not just Telia Lithuania, that Lithuania is the only country where we will grow in the future. So we are bringing a lot of more people into Lithuania, and we're growing in Lithuania because we see the talent, we see the well education, and of course we see the salary arbitrage as well. But let's give me a very personal reflection. When we moved here, our daughter, she was in the American International School of Vilnius, and in that school, part of let's say the board is run by the American embassy, someone there, because it's an American school. And I think it was the first year I was there as well, in April or something, where they start looking for new teacher for the next season, so to say. And the American was saying that when we put that out, we need to say that this is a safe city, it's so convenient, and you don't need a car. And I mean, just going from the airport and in, it's a couple of minutes, and you can walk around, and the water is super good, and it's actually the greenest city in the former Eastern Europe. Environmental climate is so good. And then the Lithuanian people in the same boat said, yeah, but we need to say that it's quite dark here as well, and it's cold during the winter, and so
risk management, yeah.
So coming back to that, there are so many good things. For me, as CEO of Telia, all doors are open, and that is a quite unique situation. If I need to get an advice, if I need to get in contact with some authority, I can do that. In Sweden, it takes months, and I'm not sure if I can reach out, so to say.
Okay, Andrew.
I can join Lina with an example. 1 month ago, I received an email from a Stockholm-based PR agency, and we asked for help in Balkans. And from first view, I thought that it is kind of a mistake, or maybe they are like asking me as an expert of that part. And then I start thinking whom I know in Balkans. And but after looking to this email for 10 minutes, then I thought maybe it is a mistake. Maybe this is not Balkans, maybe it is Baltics. And then I wrote to the lady from Stockholm, are you really asking me about Balkans, or are you just made a mistake? She said, yes, I made a mistake. Sorry about that, and yes, I need help. I need help in Latvia and Estonia. And then I said to her that I'm in Vilnius, this is Lithuania. Okay, so it was like, yeah, you know, from Balkans to Baltics to Latvia and Estonia, and then forwarded to my colleagues in Latvia and Estonia. So this is, I don't know why is that, but it is a joke. I receive such emails every 2 months or something like that. But of course, if you want to build a successful relationship, so you need to know, definitely, you need to know that there are 3 countries, they are different and sometimes absolutely different. Especially if you take Lithuania and Estonia, they are completely different. So this is it.
Okay, thanks a lot for example. Do we have any questions in the audience? Yes, please.
So in the tent here behind, there's a discussion about money, and the moderator opened the discussion asking who feels they have enough money. So of course Lithuanians never feel they do. But this is my question to both of you. Do you think that, because you have worked more than 10 years or around 10 years in Nordic companies, do you feel that the Nordic leadership style is more important and valued by the employees than, for example, salary raise? Is this a better motivation?
I would say both parts are really important. But yes, the salary raise without leadership style would not be most important.
The same, nothing to add. Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. So any more questions? Yeah, we have one there. Okay.
Very good discussion, kudos. Question is about the study I read that Sweden, as a relatively small country, is having a lot of multinationals, like ABB, IKEA. So is that something to do with the Nordic leadership style or something else?
I think that is an old tradition. I mean, if you look at Denmark, it's more, as I said, more trading country. Sweden has had big companies since more than 100 years. I think one of the reasons is that we haven't been in any war. So we have had the time to build up those big companies, and after the Second World War there was a demand for whatever, so we were able to grow. And then a smart leadership to some extent. But what we can see now is that we need also to have something in between, because those big companies will not. I mean, the last one was actually keičia, who was really growing up in H&M. The other ones are quite old, so now it's more into tech, Spotify and stuff like that. So we need to change that style. But answer your question, no, I think it's more a heritage of several other things.
How much it has to do with self-confidence?
I think it has a good, perhaps if you know that Swedes and I don't know who, there's someone else, some other countries have the highest self-confidence in the world actually, and we are good in telling other one what they should do. I think it has changed a little bit over time, but if you look at the self-confidence, we stand out.
All right, yeah. I remember this lecture about how special Swedish were when I was just arriving to Lund. Someone was telling me all the inventions done by Swedish, so I understood that there is a good feeling, and I think it's a very positive thing actually. And you mentioned before that this is something you would like here people locally to have more of.
Yeah, because I think there are so much good things that we could export, so to say.
I guess this brings me to a last question that I have. If you would be an advisor to a Lithuanian manager who wants to make a successful career in Scandinavia, to become a CEO in a Scandinavian company in one of the Scandinavian countries, what would you recommend to focus most on in terms of the leadership qualities?
I think, first of all, you need to earn, let's say, your place in the organization. Don't go in and say that I'm the CEO and I'm here to decide. You will be kicked out directly. So you need to earn your place. You need to treat people with in an equal way. Trust is important, and you need to listen. I think that is those three things. It's about a good manager is a good listening in what is going on, and be a team player, because that is what is needed. It's not, no one is perfect, but the team can be. So it's all about to be a team player.
Okay, Lina, anything to add?
I would add that it would be important not to be afraid that your employees will know more than you know, in some areas especially. I think it's still really common for Lithuanian managers to be in that self-defense position if you don't know. But I think that we are working in this changing world that the employees...
One of my first managers told me when they put me in a fairly high position in the company, and I remember driving with him and he said, "No, whatever happens, don't show you that you don't know something." This was one of the worst lessons that I received. Yeah. Okay, Andrew, what do you think? What do we need to do to be successful in Helsinki?
So I heard this phrase during the lunch, but you need to switch places. Employees up, you are down. So you are just organizer. You need to trust them, not to control them, not to push with directives or something like that. And you are background and they are working, and you don't need to rule them. So this is the main thing.
Would this help here in Lithuania as well?
More and more.
I hope so.
So do I.
Okay, but if I still be more persistent, so would this be exactly your advice for the local, to act locally, or do we say that we should have a bit of a different style if we would like to be successful in Scandinavia? Differently if I'm here and there.
I think you need to have a different style, yeah, for sure.
Here in Lithuania you need to have a little bit of combination.
Okay, to be more flexible.
yes, and sometimes in some cases just to say what to do.
All right. We still have time for 1 or 2 questions. All right, you have this one.
Thank you. I think it will not be actually a question, but more a comment to challenge a little bit the discussion that was happening, because now we were trying to generalize a little bit and say Scandinavians are like that, Lithuanians are like that. I wanted to comment because I'm actually one of those managers who lead Scandinavian people. I work in Telia together with Dawn, and I lead a team of recruiters who actually work in all of our countries. So I have Swedes, I have Finnish, Estonians, Lithuanians, Norwegians in one of the teams. And my experience from work with them is that actually personal differences play a lot more than actually cultural things. For example, when I had the first meeting with my team, I'm a very result-oriented person, so I wanted to just go straight and start, to do things like what will happen, etc., etc. But I read about Nordics, Sweden, etc. So I did like a very, very soft meeting, getting to know each other, asking people, how they perceive things, etc. Guess who were the ones who said like, well, this was too soft? Swedes. Swedes told to me that, well, we were expecting a lot more action, from the first meeting than this like fluffy thing. So actually, like from my perspective, in many cases, personal differences, act a lot more than actually cultural differences.
But that was a little bit what I started with, saying that a good manager is a good manager no matter, but you need to be aware about the difference and keep them in mind.
Maybe that's a lesson to be yourself more and not try to be someone else. Okay, any other question from the audience before we wrap up? Okay, so, is there anything we didn't touch upon? Maybe a question to the audience? No? I think we have covered.
No, I have actually a question to you.
Okay,
great. What is your experience?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I didn't want to push my experience too much, but I would say, very briefly, one, I really enjoy Scandinavian culture as such, and the leadership style. I think if you have enough respect to the personal respect, you can speed up even Swedish people. So the speed, I think they are keen to be quicker, but you need to be very careful to ask for it. I think the key is respect, because that's where all the problems come, when you don't have respect, and this applies everywhere. So respect and emotional intelligence, maybe, to understand how other person feels like. And one thing I noticed a lot, and actually this was like a gamble for me. If you meet someone in Sweden or in Scandinavia, and you feel that they are much more, they feel more natural to you, their attitude, their management style, it's pretty much for sure that they would have been somewhere else. So especially Scandinavia plus US is a very good combination, because then people have still very authentic, genuine, but they much faster because of US experience. So this mix was always noticeable and really good. And in general, the international experience, I would agree with you, international experience makes managers more of the international managers, because they become much more flexible and catch quickly what is the environment they need to adjust to. So the international experience in general, I think, is very helpful for management as such. And thank you for the question. Okay, so thank you all three. Please give a round of applause. If you still have any questions, we are here. And let's have a nice time, nice evening. Thank you.